Hello class, let us continue with our SQL commands, execution of SQL commands through Python programming. So we saw how to create an interface from Python programming by creating a connection. I'm just quickly repeating, I wrote a few lines so that I don't have to rewrite again and again. You remember that we have to import mysql.connector. This is the driver. It has to be installed, and I have taken a short form of this package called SQLTR, exactly the way we have done in the previous class. Then I have created a connection MC. MC is the connection. This connection will help us build up a link between our Python program and the database. Imagine I am accessing a database. My name of my database is CL12. Okay. The name of my database is say CL12. This is my database, and this database is there in my MySQL folder. I created this database, and in this database, imagine there is the table called item. Fine, I just created the structure of the item because we will be needing it. Item is a table which has three fields: item, ITID, and price. Imagine this is a price column is given as double. Fine, ITID is an integer. Okay, I'm just writing the type of it because that also we might read that. While creating the table, say I created this as double and say I created as 5,2. You remember this, that altogether there will be 5 digits and 2 after the decimal point, 2 digits after the decimal point. This one say I took as int and this one say I took as character 30. When I created the table in MSQL. Okay, now this is my database and this is the table under the database. Fine. Now you know that how to create a cursor object basically. We need two objects here. One is connection object, another is cursor object. So my C is my cursor object. I told you why. Because when we get the entire result set on execution of a particular SQL command, from that entire result set, if you want to go through every record, every row or every tuple, then it is helpful to create a cursor object. Fine. So cursor object name is myC connection.cursor function, and you have seen in the last class how we execute the SQL commands. We write execute and here we load the command. Fine. That means you can write here select star whatever. Okay. In fact, insert, update, all the commands can be run here. Today what we are going to learn is called parameterized query. I want to execute one particular query. Say I want to execute this particular command. What is my command? I want to execute select star from item. Okay, where I want to give a condition here. My condition is say where the price is greater than 10 rupees. Fine. This is the query I want to execute from this Python program. Fine. Now this value 10, if we mention here, then user, the person who will run the program, he doesn't have any control over it. Because somebody who is running the program, don't you think it will be better for him to decide, somebody who is running the program, he should decide that which query he would execute from that Python program. That means if I write directly this particular SQL command here, then programmer is doing everything. Programmer is selecting the query. But that should not be the nature of query. The query should be left it on to the person who is running it. So that means the person who is running this Python program should have the option of choosing various things in the query. Now in this particular query, what is there to choose? This value the person who is running the program can choose, depending on his wish. He might like to display all the items where the price is more than 50 rupees, more than 10 rupees, more than 100 rupees. It depends on him. So this part, don't you think we could have left it on the user? So this is what is called parameterized query. We will see how through a parameter we can pass the value into a SQL command, and that SQL command will be executed further from the Python program. What did I say? I said that we will leave a particular value onto the person who is running the program or executing the SQL query. Through a parameter, user, the person who is running the program, will put a value, and that value will become the part of the SQL command. And that SQL command will be run through the Python program. That is the technique we are going to learn today. So if you want to leave it onto the user, then what you have to do, you have to design a string. Fine, you have to design a whole string, and that whole string we will put over here as SQL command. So normally this parameterized query or the whole string that we are talking about is designed in the format of, there are two methods of doing it. I am showing you the first method. In the first method, what happens? It can be structured in the format of f%v. Who is f and who is v? F is basically called a template string. Okay, it is called a template string, and v is a tuple. So you might be wondering, who is the tuple here and who is the template string here? Fine. So let me show you an example based on the SQL command which I wrote just now. That is, I wanted to write select command. I wanted to write one SQL command like this: SQL select star from item. Okay, where price is a field, you can see there, but price is more than 10 rupees or maybe 50 rupees. So this part basically, I am putting a question mark here. This part we will leave it on to the user. So here we have to make an arrangement to make a communication point so that user can choose a right value here. Okay. So to do that, what we can do is we will look at this carefully. At first, to create this template string, what I will do, we will write within a double quotes like this. We can write select star exactly the way it is from item. Okay, there is no space here, so I am writing in the next line. Okay, you try to write in the same line only, where price is greater than. Now here, what you need to do is you need to put one percentage sign and one s. This percentage s will define that here this particular thing, this whole thing will be replaced by a value to be given by the user. Now how to give the value? Now before I come to the value part, let me explain you properly. This part is also called, this percentage s is also called a placeholder. It can be also called a placeholder. This placeholder, whatever you write as a placeholder, that placeholder get replaced. When you execute that SQL command from Python, what will happen? This placeholder will be replaced, and obviously it will be replaced by a value, and that's what we want. How to do it? What we'll do, we'll put our double quotes here, okay? And then what you have to do, you have to put a percentage sign once again, and you have to write here a tuple. Now here I want to replace only one value, right? So only one value I will write. So one value is say whatever is 50. Okay? Now if you want to leave it onto the user, obviously you cannot write a value here directly. So what you can do is somewhere before the beginning of the program, or before you reach this part, you ask user that what is the price value. You can input the price. Say I took a variable called PR and I told it is a float type of value, it will be input. You do the input here, you let the user choose the price value, and you put a variable here PR. Now what will happen, depending on whatever the value user chooses, PR will get that value. Say user inputs a value 50, so what will happen? It will be 50. And when the SQL command executes, what happens? This /s will be replaced by the value 50. That is how we can put a parameterized query in a Python program. But what happens if I have more than one such things? For example, I am just making these things slightly complicated. Say I want to display all the items where the price is more than 10 rupees. So I put a placeholder here. And also I wanted the name field is iname. Okay, so the name has to match also, the field name has to match. and INM equal to, I wanted whether INM will be equal to a particular item. Say I have imagine 3 types of pens where the prices are also different. Fine. So here another another this thing percentage s will come. Fine. But look at this carefully. Here price, the value, whatever this placeholder is representing, that is going to be a numeric value. But here beside INAME, what you are going to write, that is a non-numeric value. So if it is a non-numeric value, supposed to replace this placeholder, then this placeholder has to come within a pair of single quotation mark like this. Fine? And if it is numeric, then no need to give any quotation mark. So my command is ready. I will put the double quotes because I started with 2 opening of double quotes, closing of double quotes I have done. And then as usual there is no place here, I am writing at the bottom. Actually it has to come here. So we will write percentage and then we will write here 2 values, or you can put 2 variables here, like just like the way when we input price. You can input another thing. For example, here say I am putting a star mark here. Say you have input, fine. Let me write here. Here we put it this way. Say NM equal to input of you wanted user to enter the name, fine. And this particular value NM you use here. So price was basically PR and the name was basically NM. So here the rule is, in the order you write the value, in the same order they keep on replacing the placeholders. So PR is written first, so PR will replace the first placeholder. NM is written second, NM will replace the second placeholder. This is how it goes on. Fine? I will explain you another way of doing it in my next video.